Okay. All right, so I'm gonna start right here. Good evening. It's Sharonda here with another session of Red Couch Conversation. I have one of my lovely, lovely, longtime friends here to visit with us today. Hey, Amy.
Hello.
How are
I'm
you?
great. Hope you are.
Good, good. So Amy here is to talk about our mental health series that we've been doing. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands that mental health is a real, real conversation and we're going to be having it. And so I hope this is beneficial to you. I hope that you can learn something today and take it and import into your network. So tell us a little bit about your agency.
All right. So my agency is Connecting Communities and Counseling Agency in Warrenton. I opened November of 2022. So I work with ages 10, normally 10 and up,
Okay.
with any mental health concerns, a lot of grief, anxiety, um, help support parents that are having challenges with their children,
Okay.
provide some autistic support for
Okay.
families who have children with autism. Grief, did I say grief? A
Yes.
lot of grief,
Mm-hmm.
depression, anxiety. So, just a lot of different things that people are going through right now, especially since COVID. So,
Right.
trying to help people to get from where they are to
Some
where they want to be.
adjustment. Right.
Yeah, a lot of readjusting to
Okay.
life the way it is now. So,
Right. Okay. Well, this is good because children need that outlet,
right.
and so there's a lot of things going on that, with children. With I think that there's a lot of influences from social media and the TV and all of that bullying. So we got a whole lot of influences that you and I necessarily
Right.
didn't experience when we were younger, but in real time, those things are happening.
Yes, a lot of low self esteem
Low
or
self
trying to
esteem.
be somebody that they see on social media,
Right.
that may or may not even be real, but
Okay.
they perceive it as real. So a lot of identity
Yes.
concerns.
Yes. I know that I have a 12-year-old and I have grandsons that are in the school system and so forth, and I talk with them. And so would you encourage parents to have open conversations with their children?
Please. That's something I think that is so beneficial because it's so easy not to talk because we
Right.
have our cell
You're
phones
going
or
to text.
tablets, but to have dinner time and just sit down and talk, or have
Right.
family meetings and just sit
Mhm.
down and talk. And I say it a lot. It's like, listen to what your kids are saying, but also listen to what they're not saying.
Correct.
If they're isolating themselves and in their room a lot, it's like, go talk to them and see what's going on. See
Yeah.
what video games they're playing. See
Right.
who they're interacting with online. But having those communication, those conversations is so important. And also allowing, having your kids feel comfortable to come to you.
That's right.
So they're not talking to strangers or their friends and getting
Mm,
advice, but
that's right.
let them be able to come to you and feel comfortable about sharing whatever.
And letting them know that it's okay if you have identified a safe person.
Right.
Hey, hey, maybe this is not a topic for me,
Right.
but here's such and such. You can talk.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk to them,
Yep.
right?
That's another thing that's important. Having at least one person you can tell anything,
Right,
absolutely anything
right.
about
Creating that
yourself.
safe
Right.
space, that
Mm-hmm.
safe space. So, parents, you heard it here. Listen, talk to your children. Texting is fine for, hey, what you want for dinner? Hey, you want me to pick
Right.
you up this? But you're not going to get those emotions
Mm-hmm.
out of those text messages.
Right.
So, another area that I would like to highlight is that you just said it, is what they're not saying.
Right.
When you
Right.
see their personality change, when you
Mm-hmm.
see them shy away,
Mm-hmm.
putting some things away that they really enjoyed before, that's really telling you
Yeah.
something.
Major changes in behaviors. They used to like certain things and now they don't. Or they used to talk to you and now they don't. Or
Friends
like I said,
change.
friends change or isolating themselves when they didn't before. But just paying attention to changes in routines because it's a
Okay.
reason.
It's a reason.
It's a
Yes.
reason.
So, what would you advise parents to break that ice? How can they break that ice?
I always say to meet people where they are. So
Mm-hmm.
get on your child's level. If they're playing a video game, ask some questions about a video game. Or if
Mm-hmm.
they're interested in some TikToker, find out about the
Right.
TikToker. So kind of go into their world
Okay.
and see what they're doing. And even if it's hard for you to understand, like anime is hard for me to understand, but I
Me too.
listen. I listen to about anime, but just so they know that you are truly interested and that it makes them feel comfortable to talk to you about things. So just going into their world and finding out what's going on with them, and not in a way that you are ready to fuss or accuse them of doing something wrong.
Right,
It's like,
right.
what's been going on with you? How are your friends? What's, just general conversations. And I don't think a lot of our kids are used to that because we don't
We don't.
talk as much as we
Right,
used to
right.
before. So we're just having general good conversations.
Okay. So I want to build on that a little bit. Having the conversation with your child is going to be key, and also letting them know that it's a safe space to be able to share their
Right.
emotions.
Mm-hmm.
It may not come across like you want it. It may actually have a little umph with it, but it's okay as long as it's respectful,
Right.
so that they can be able to share, because they could truly be going through something, and you're creating that safe space. That doesn't mean you have to, oh, that's because they said this, I'm going to respond to that, because that's an area and an opportunity for you to grow with your
Right.
child.
That's so true. Yeah.
So true. Okay. Would you also, is there a avenue for, if the parent is not in the home and is not in their day-to-day, what advice would you give to that parent when they do see their child? Like the child to go stay with their dad on the weekend?
Spend time with your kids. Quality time. Instead of picking them up and having them at your house and they're playing their video game and you're playing your video game, spend time together.
Spend time together.
Once again, I'm a big talker, so communication is huge.
Right.
Sit down and talk to them and see how school is going and what
Right.
they like about school, what they don't like. But like I said, going into their world,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times parents will say, well, I had my kid for the weekend.
Right.
It's like, okay, so what did you do?
What did you
What
do?
did you do? What did you talk about?
Right.
Because it's easy to bring a kid into your home and they're there, but what are you all doing? So quality.
I always tell, don't be the Walt Disney parent.
Mm-hmm.
Every time they come, you got to do something fun.
Right.
You got to do something
Right.
exciting,
Mm-hmm.
because that's not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
There's some days it's raining, we just sitting at the house,
Right.
and then the child's like, well, I don't want to go to dad's house because we just gonna sit at the house.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting at the house on a rainy day, get the Uno cards, get the Phase 10 cards, teach them something,
Mm-hmm.
It's opportunities to build those relationships.
Many. Yeah. And I'm very old school, so like you said, Uno.
Right.
We'll play the what's the long game, card game?
Oh,
I Declare War.
I Declare War. Oh yeah,
just anything.
That's the longest game in the world.
And Monopoly, but just anything to connect with them and showing them pieces of your world.
Right.
Because a lot of kids don't play I Declare War.
That's true.
And it allows them to teach you.
Yeah, the old matching. Just get a regular deck of cards and put them on the table. Let's just play old school matching. Because we ain't always had Phase 10, and we ain't always had these new card games that's out here. But I also learned in talking with a parent not too long ago that when I don't know how to connect with my child, they don't talk. Well, then as a parent, it's your responsibility to be creative.
Yeah, be creative.
Be creative.
Yeah. And I say in that situation, it's understandable depending on the relationship, but don't be afraid to ask someone else. It's like, this is what's going on with my child. I don't know how to connect.
Right.
Can you help me with that?
Right.
Because there's help out there that can help, just conversation starters.
Right. And I know there's a lot of grandparents that are back in the parenting role, right?
Yes.
And I don't want to discourage them, because I know that sometimes, hey, I'm old school. I raised my child this way, but now I have this grandchild. What would you say to that grandparent that's raising their grandchildren?
I say the same thing. Ask for help. Ask for help, because it is far removed, it's a generation removed. So they may not know what anime is or TikTok, but asking for help, asking somebody else for help is like, how do I talk to this kid about whatever? But also listening. Listening is a big deal. And going into their world, it's like, okay, I don't understand how to make a TikTok. Show me. And I can't imagine most kids won't be ready to do that.
They'll be ready.
Yeah, they'll be ready.
And it's simple, because now you're engaging. Now you're building that communication. Now say, when I get home, I got to tell grandma this.
Right, exactly.
And it's just small steps, would you say?
Very small steps, but we have to make them.
Have to make them.
Right.
Yep. Now, what advice would you give to that parent who feels that, I've tried everything that I can try and I'm not reaching my child?
I say reach out for help. A lot of times people look at counseling as, I don't want to tell people my business, or I'm not crazy, or
that stereotype.
How can they tell me what to do? But sometimes it may honestly just take a conversation. And a lot of times people will start talking, and sometimes when you hear yourself talk, you work things out for yourself.
Because you got to hear it.
Right, exactly.
Let me say it out loud.
So it's not grueling. It's not, counseling is not grueling. And sometimes it's just connecting with a person to say, okay, this is what's going on. What in the world am I doing?
Right.
And having that conversation.
Right.
And it may just take one conversation.
It may.
You know,
It may.
so.
One conversation can change a whole situation.
Very much so.
Okay, okay. And so, school, there's a lot of issues that, parents have told me school is school, home is home. But I beg to differ. I think it's a partnership.
It is.
It's a partnership. Because it's still your child. I don't care where the child is. It's
no
still
matter
your
where
child.
your child is, it's your child. Right. Yes.
And so you got a partner.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to talk about what that partnership looks like?
I would. I just feel like these are our kids.
Always.
And we send them to school. Yes, we do. But we have to support the teachers.
Yes.
And we have to let our kids know that I can talk to this teacher and I will. And the same with the teacher. But I just believe it takes a village to raise a child. And those teachers in that school have to connect with the parents. Have to connect with the parents so that the kids can be whole and be well.
Right.
But
that's right.
You have to do it.
You have to do
around it in order for the child to be successful.
And when you're in a rural community like ours, and you may run into your teacher at the grocery store, or, at the local dollar store, whatever. That's still the village. That's still the village. And so I think that what we're learning here is that it's okay to have the conversation. It's okay to initiate the conversation, but listening is just as much a part of the communication as you talking. Right. So you got to be able to hear the information. And some of those conversations are so crucial. And you may not be ready to hear some of the things that you're going to hear, but take it little chunks.
That's right.
Little chunks.
And listen to understand and to comprehend, not to respond. And sometimes as parents, we can get defensive if you say something about my child. But listen. And I call it iron out the kinks. Listen to understand to whatever adult is talking to you about your kid. And then see how you all can work together to make things better for all three of y'all, the teachers, school, child, and parent.
So there's some youth that sometimes, the older youth sometimes have a path that leads them down the juvenile justice system, but we can still love on them and support them in that realm too. And just know that if you do have a youth that has been exposed or have to deal with a juvenile court counselor or whatever, community service, then you don't write that child off.
Right.
You still love on that child too. And I just want to make sure that we can speak to those parents who's dealing with that's still your child.
Right. And I think unconditional love is so important. That's what I feel like we all want, and especially children, because it's hard for them.
It's hard.
It's very hard for them. And being in a situation like that where they have made some bad decisions. I don't believe in bad kids. I say people make bad decisions.
Yes.
And so they may have made some bad decisions. And how do they recover from that?
Yes.
So they need to know they have the support, unconditional support.
Yes.
Even though it may be hard for the parents, it's hard for the teenagers, but they need to know they have that unconditional support, that I can go to my mom, even after I made this bad decision, and she's going to support me and help me get to the next level.
Right.
And if mom needs that help, then mom reach out to make things better for her and for the child. And not just mom, dad.
Parents. Caregivers. It could be an auntie, it could be an uncle, it could be a big cousin, it could be whomever who's providing that care. And build that village, build your support system. So how can we reach you?
All right. So my agency name is Connecting Communities and Counseling Agency. I'm in Warrenton. My phone number is 252-517-9552.
Okay. So if you're here in the county and you need to link with a great provider that can help you and guide you with you and your child, Ms. Cooper is saying, hey, I'm here, I'm available. And maybe it's not her agency, but there are other agencies too. We're not saying only use her agency. We said find the right agency for you and your child. But what I wanted to make sure that I highlight today is that this is a resource. This is a path to get the help.
Right.
This is not punitive. This is not, negative. I mentioned too, I had a session with another person that's in the mental health field. And I said, we go to the eye doctor when we need glasses, we go to the foot doctor, but come on, let's make sure that we embrace that mental health services is a resource. It's a way to get the help.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to make sure that we highlight that. Is there any little nuggets that we can leave with parents so they'll know, hey, I'm starting to notice this. My first response should be this.
Right. And once again, I go back to communication.
Mm-hmm.
If you see something that's off and not always going to the child fussing and
Right.
complaining, it's like, okay, you're doing something different. Let's
Yes.
talk about this. So
Mm-hmm.
communication is huge.
Huge.
And positive communication. So the child will feel comfortable opening up and saying whatever it is that's going on. And just paying attention to behaviors, because that is so big, because every behavior is for a reason. We do things for a reason.
Right.
It's like
Right.
paying attention to them and trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah, so
being
important.
alert, paying attention,
Mhm.
being intentional, being
Intentional.
active. So a lot of youth are dating, like these young teenagers are dating. And so domestic violence happens in youth relationships, right? So parents, keep your eye on that too, because when you start seeing, I can't go without this person, I got to call him every 5 minutes, or why you had to go to your grandma's house this weekend, stay tuned.
That's right.
We got to make sure we're watching all those signs, right?
Very much so.
And that's a real thing too.
It happens all the time.
Happens all the time. Okay. So what advice would you give to parents who's starting to see their dating youth starting to act different?
Yeah. The same thing, communication.
That's right.
Communication, find out, who is this person that you're dating, and also find out your child's expectation of a relationship.
Ooh.
It's like, what do you feel like should happen and what shouldn't happen?
Right.
Because we may think we know our kids, but we may not.
Right.
Especially when they start dating, they may not even know. So just finding out, what do they expect from a relationship,
right?
And why are you dating? Just asking general questions. It's like, what do you get from this?
Yeah.
I ask kids all the time. It's like, what does it mean to have a boyfriend? What does it mean to have a girlfriend?
Right.
Just to see what their mind is.
Right.
About dating, because it's very serious and it can happen so fast that somebody is pretty much taking control of your child.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, this is not.
Why they got your phone?
Right, exactly. They have to have your code to your phone. They have, like, why you at grandma's house for over an hour?
Right, that check and balance, And I think that's key. So make sure we're paying attention to that. Making sure we're paying attention. Now, communication has been the topic. You've said that several times. Everything goes back to communication. Everything goes back to communication. And that's what the Red Couch is about, is having those conversations, because we want to make sure we're promoting healthy conversations, not only between adults,
that's right,
but with our children.
Right.
Now, I know your program start with children at the age of 10, but if there's a child that's younger than the age of 10, we can refer them out.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's so important, because like you said earlier, you don't have to come to get services from me, but if I can help you to find what you need somewhere in the community, then that's what I'm willing to do.
Right, right. And that's what's important here. We got to be about linking to the right service, connecting to the right service. I may say, hey, I want my child to see an African-American male.
Exactly.
And you say, well, hey, Sharonda, here's a list.
That's right.
Or I may say, you know what? I may need somebody to help me, because as a parent, I don't know how to communicate with my child. You can refer me to somebody too. Yeah. Okay. And so let me ask you, if there is a conversation about, hey, medication management, is that really a taboo topic when we're talking about, hey, I don't want my child on medication? Yes. We got to take that one conversation at a time. We shouldn't just rule it in or out.
Right.
You got to know your child and know your situation.
That's right.
Right.
And it is situation by situation. But once again, like you said earlier, you go to the eye doctor. If they give you medication for your eyes, you're going to
drop it in there.
If they give you medication for your heart, you're going to take it.
Right.
And your mind is just as important as your heart, as your feet. It's like, we need to be mentally healthy.
Right.
And not saying that you have to take medication. Of course, it's your choice.
Right.
But at least listen and be open to it. Because some situations you may have to take medication.
Right.
And does that mean you'll take it for the rest of your life? No.
Correct.
But you may need to take it just to get over this hump.
Have to.
It's okay.
I'm glad you said that. It's just because it's prescribed in the immediate doesn't mean it's lifelong. Exactly. It's forever. Because I've learned that because you're a child with ADHD doesn't mean you can't be an adult with ADHD.
Exactly.
It doesn't just turn off when you turn 18. Right. So don't be misled by that.
Exactly.
It's a real thing.
Very true.
And so now there's youth that are dual diagnosed, right? And so we got to make sure that we're clear about that. So don't think it's a one-stop shop. You may have to go to different people.
Exactly.
And so I think that sometimes we need to make sure that we understand that it may be another referral, it may be another consultant, but we'll do whatever we got to do for our babies.
Because the end goal is we want our kids to be healthy. We want to be healthy. We want our kids to be healthy, and not just physically, mentally also.
Not just physically healthy.
Important.
Buying the new sneakers that's coming out, buying the new gear that's coming out, looks good on the babies. Yes. Don't get me wrong, because I like my babies to look good too, but I want them to feel good about themselves. Yeah. Let's talk about self-esteem for a little bit. Okay. I know that when we look in the mirror, we want to see what we see, and we want other people to see what we see. So what would you say to the young student that's watching this, that's gonna need to know about self-esteem?
I think it's so important to find ways to love yourself. It could be your smile, it could be your eyes. Everyone will not look like the TikTok stars or social media stars, and that's okay. And once again, like I said, some of those are not even real.
Exactly. Filters out there, y'all.
So being able to love who you are, it doesn't always have to be about looks. It may be your personality. You may be a person that you have a great heart, and that's what you love about yourself.
Yes.
So I have said a lot. It's a lot of beautiful people that don't have good hearts.
That's true.
And
that's true.
I mean, what do you rather have? Do you want to have the beauty, or do you want to have a good heart? Do you want to be a good person, or do you want to be beautiful?
Right.
So
vanity goes out the window. You got to have that pureness.
That's right. You have to have a good heart. Well, we want you to have a good heart. So being able to just find whatever that is that you love about yourself, and if you love it the way you are, that's fine. But if you need to enhance it, then you enhance it. If you're a great basketball player, then you enhance that, and that's what you love about yourself. You practice and enhance it. But just find any little spark. And I encourage parents to do that, to ingrain that into your kids. And I always say, "Oh, you're beautiful."
Right.
It's like you're smart. You make good decisions.
Right. Those affirmations.
That's right.
Yeah. Give them those affirmations.
Good person, just not all about beauty and vanity.
Yes. That's huge for our young ladies and our young men. We got to make sure that we're addressing that. I believe in people, you got to meet yourself where you are.
That's right.
I know you said earlier, you said, hey, I'm going to meet my child where they are, but you got to meet yourself where you are. Be real with you, right? Okay. So let me just ask you just this other question here, and then I think that we're in a place that I want to make sure our viewers know that we're going to continue to have this conversation. Mental health is real, and I just want to make sure that they know that there's good people out here like you. Been knowing you all my life and loving on you, and knowing that I know that, hey, I can call you and say, hey, let me run this by you. But if you're in need of a therapeutic home or therapeutic services, make sure you have a safe place to go and talk to somebody. It's good to talk to your auntie. It's good to talk to your best friend. But these are real services and real resources out here. Don't go through it alone. You don't have to be alone.
You do not have to go through it alone. So true.
Yeah. And I think too that, when we have this, I wanted this one to be about children, be about the children, because I've talked to some children. Just because your child is shy don't mean he's depressed. Right. Just because your child is talkative don't mean that she all right.
Right.
So we got to make sure that we tapping in. You said it several times, communication. And I want to add observation.
That's very much so. You have to know your child and know when things shift. It's okay, they don't normally do that.
Yes.
It's like, what is that about? Yeah.
Yes. I was speaking with a clinician, and she'll be on another one of our segments with mental health. And she said, when your loved one starts to give things away.
Yes.
Suicide is real with our babies.
So real. Yes.
What can you say to those parents that are dealing with that? Like, they said something that concerned me. Should I act on it?
I would talk to them, and just to see where their mind is and what's going on with them.
Yeah.
And definitely to see if it's the major changes, like you say, giving things away, or once again isolating themselves, and just dig in a little bit.
Yeah.
But not pushing too much to upset the child. and then reach out for help.
Reach
Because
out for-
suicide is real. It is very
Suicide
real
is real.
and very serious.
Right. And in our community, we're seeing it more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to just say that it affects everybody.
Right.
It affects everybody.
Yes, it does.
And so that's one of those topics that, you kind of, it pulls on your heartstrings.
It does. And a lot of people, like I've had parents not want to talk about suicide with their kids because sometimes they think, well, if we say it, it makes it real, or it may make them think about it. It's like, but you don't know what they're thinking about anyway. So it's like, let's address the elephant in the room.
Let's address it.
Suicide is real and depression is real.
Right.
But how do we move from this depression to feeling better and move away from suicide to help you to want to live?
Right, right. So the last topic I want to just touch on is journaling.
Okay.
So now I love to journal. And I mean, I'll scribble, write hearts and flowers and all that, but I write some good stuff and then I go back, I can't believe I read that.
Yes.
Or I wrote that and what was I thinking when I did that? Would you encourage journaling?
I encourage, yes. But sometimes we don't always feel comfortable talking to mama or sister. And it might be 12 o'clock at night and I can't call my therapist. So it's like, let me write these things down. And I just feel like so much things are better out than in.
Once
so
you write it out.
in negative stuff, write it down.
Right.
Write it down and get it out.
Get it out.
And so you can be at peace and say, okay, it's out. And then what I love to do is go back and read my journal like a year later and be like, wow, that's what I was thinking.
That's what I was thinking. Right, right.
And a lot of times it's growth.
Right.
Or you're just thinking that you're in a different place. But I encourage journaling to get it out.
Right.
Very productive. And people might not always want to talk to people. So journaling is in your journal. It's safe. No one even has to know what's in there.
Right.
But I do encourage that.
Right, right. One of the things that I started doing is, now I have adult children, is I started to look at, they're hitting, one just turned 30 last weekend. So I was like, hey, when I was 30, I was doing this.
Right.
And I was talking to my 35-year-old. I said, girl, you 35. Like, what the world? And so I was talking and I was like, what was I doing at that age?
Right.
And so trying to like go back, and times are so different.
So different.
So different. So different. So parents, don't think you know it all.
Yeah. Because we do not.
We do not.
Even when we think we do, we don't. And it's okay.
It's okay. They say fashion comes back in. What we used to wear comes back in. What the dances come back in. The songs are kind of redone and done over and over. That's the thing with parenting. Don't think that some of the things that you didn't do, they didn't try.
Right.
And what we were doing, they're not doing it now. They're doing something totally different.
It's totally different.
Times are different. Yeah. Times are different. Well, listen, as always, it has been a pleasure for you to come and spend this time with me. I hope that we've talked about something that encourages you, that empowers you, and hope that this will be a way for you to start having a conversation with your child. Real funny story here. My son is into Pokemon. Okay. And I'm gonna tell you something. I just thought it was Pikachu. I didn't know it was so many, right? And so, I have to learn it. I had to learn it. It's on my phone. We trying to catch Pokemon. So I didn't know Pokemons live these many places. But I had to meet him where he is, Yep. And so I encourage you, whatever it is, like you said, anime. Right. It could be the TikTok. It could be, the journal. It could be coloring sheets or whatever it is. Meet your child where they are and allow them to know that this is a safe space for conversation. And if you need the resource of linking with a therapist, reach out. Anything you want to say to the people before we end?
That's it. That we talked about a lot, but conversation is the key for me. I'm huge on communication, so talk to your kids, and not just every day when they get in the car, you picking them up from school or from the babysitter saying, how was your day? Be creative with it.
Creative.
What made you smile today? What emotions did you feel today? Emotions are big because a lot of children, they do not know how to talk about emotions or express them. They don't know. So just asking questions that they wouldn't expect you to ask them.
Right. Have that conversation.
Don't get on smile today.
Don't get on the car just on the phone.
Yes.
Hang it up. This is their time. Talk to them about the day. So this has been just one of those conversations that I have been wanting to have for a long, long time, and we've been back and forth about how we was gonna get it scheduled, but we worked it out. And these are the things that we talk about here at the Red Couch Conversations. We're gonna have the conversations that is important to you and I on a daily basis. And so you know, you're always welcome to
Thank you
stop
so
by.
much.
I'm
Thank
glad
you.
that you could
Me
come.
too. Finally.
Finally, finally. But the timing was perfect
Right.
though, because this is the season that we had to have a
Yes,
conversation.
that's right.
We could have had a different conversation before.
Yep,
This
so
is the
true.
season. And so I'm very appreciative. Before I go, let me just say this. We're talking about talking to your child and talking to your child's teacher. But when you talk to your child about their role in the school too.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to make sure I hit on that before
Yes.
we close.
Because they have a
role.
responsibility.
Exactly.
They're a student.
They're
They
a
should be
student.
respectful, just like they're respecting their teacher and mom and dad.
Right.
Right. They have a responsibility. This is their education. I tell kids when that name goes on that piece of paper, that's your name. So
That's
you take ownership of
exactly.
it. So you need to be prideful and do the best that you can.
Right.
At being a student.
And that's so key. So, and when your child come home and tell you about an experience, don't look at the negative.
Right.
One, appreciate that it came home and told you.
Right. Very much so. Yeah.
And then explore it.
How can we grow from here?
Exactly.
To get to the good part.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So listen, guys, we love you. We thank you for taking this journey with us. Ms. Cooper, I thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Reach out to somebody. Use the resources. And as you know, at Riddick Events, we always say, come talk to us before you talk yourself out of your next event. Have a good night.